Hi, Lou. I'm ready to inspire you too. All right, so welcome everybody. I'm going to go ahead and start. We have a full house today and a lot to talk about. You can chat with me on the side. I can see the chat. If you want to say something to me, you have to unmute. But what I'll ask you to do is to let me get through the first couple of slides that we're going to talk about today, and then you'll have an opportunity to open up and people can comment. There are a few people who are in attendance that have taken the Women Leading with Impact seminar and who have the experience of what it's like and how it's changed their lives. And I want to give you a chance to really give some feedback on what happened for you and encourage others to be a part of this, I would say, awesome event that's going to be happening in December. Most of you know me. Some of you don't. I'm Denise Harrington, and I'm in my Washington, D.C. office, and we're going to be running this seminar from here in the Washington, D.C. area in December. But today, our design is to give you an overview of what Women Leading with Impact is all about. I started this program of inspiring women and training women on how to be more powerful in the workplace probably about 15 years ago it's been. 15 years ago I had a woman come to me and ask me, can you help me be more powerful in the workplace? I've done everything I can think to do, and I can't move up. I do it the way the guys do it, and I get dinged. I do it the way that I think I should do it as a woman, and I get dinged. What is it that I can do? So today, what we want to do is look at some of the principles that help women become much more successful and to actually make a transformation in the way that you lead, the way that you sit at the table, and how you contribute in your careers and in your personal life as well. I also teach Speaking with Impact, which is the flagship program and what I originally started working with. And many of my clients come from that program. Many of you have taken the program that are on the webinar today. I also had the experience of doing a big Speaking with Impact program in California for McDonald's. And it was a class of all women. And in that class, we would do the breakout coaching where people would get feedback one-on-one on how their communication skills are and how their presence was. The associate trainer that was working with me in this class was bringing people back into the room 20, 30 minutes later after a private coaching. And our private coachings are normally 10 minutes. So I took her aside afterwards and said, what's going on, Alexandra? Why is it taking so long for you to go through coaching with them? And she said, there's so many issues that are coming out. So many women are feeling that they can't advance in the workplace. So you see, from my experience of teaching communication skills and subsequently starting this program, there is a need, there still is a need. Many of you have probably read books like Lean In or A Woman's Worth. These books have helped to really change the environment. And there have been corporations that have changed the environment as well. Deloitte & Touche has done incredible work over the last 20 years because they realized that they were really speaking to their women who were coming in asking for their advice more so than men, and even the men that were coming in, the advice that they were giving them, the decision was finally with their wives or the women, significant women in their lives. So we play a significant role on how the world sees itself, delivers itself, and our perspective is critical to the way corporations and businesses do their work today. Let's just start. You'll miss me because we're going to go right into slides. Women Leading with Impact is a two-day program, but the principles that you're going to be learning today are going to be principles that really are the core pieces of what the program stands on and stands for. One of the key things that I want you to realize is when I first started teaching this class many years ago, and Cindy Tortorisi is on the call today, and I actually gave this program to a group of women that she arranged and had me speak to. And at the time, we were talking about a paradigm shift and what that meant. This was in 15 years ago. And this is what we came up with from the Career Journal article. In fact, not only are we leading and modeling a different kind of leadership, but our leadership over the last few years and in the last several years have become essential to the way business is done today. So the question always comes up, is there a glass ceiling? What is a glass ceiling? Are we hitting a glass ceiling? I was fortunate enough to do this Women Leading with Impact program for Microsoft on a global level. And the interesting thing is in Asia, I felt like, oh my goodness, what can I tell them in Asia? Their culture is so much different than ours. Instead of calling it the glass ceiling, they called it the bamboo ceiling. The issues are the same globally. Women want to lead, contribute, and have a strong seat and a say at the table. Here are some facts. The interesting thing about these facts is in 2005, when I gathered up these same facts, there's only a slight difference. 56.9% of the U.S. labor force is now made up of women. In 2005, it was 46.7%. 51.4% in management professional-related occupations. In 2005, it was 51.5%. 14.4% Fortune 500 companies. Today, it's 14.6%. And Fortune 500 board member seats. Today, 16.9. In 2005, it was 15.7. And I could go on. You can see that the movement is slight at best. And it says, there may not be a glass ceiling in your mind, but there certainly is space for us to grow. That's why I'm excited about being here today. And I want you all to not only take notes, stay open to some of these ideas, and put down in your own mind, gather in your own mind, ways that you can start incorporating your being into the things that you do. You're essential to where you are. And what we're going to get out of today, we're going to get a new sense of being. We're going to get the ability to assert ourselves in ways that we haven't before. And most importantly, we're going to gain a collective power that really is where the transformation comes from. We have power. We have it. I decided to use a recent crisis to show how important we are to the general landscape of business. In crisis, companies begin to value who we are. Just recently, the NFL, in the face of a crisis, decided that they would incorporate 4 new women into their VP suite in order to help them head off this crisis and to mitigate it. Many of you out there are probably frustrated and tired of hearing it. I know I am. But the bottom line is that if women had been thought about earlier, perhaps bringing our emphasis into the workplace a little bit sooner to the NFL or to the locker room, the chances are that maybe some of these things could be headed off at the pass. That said, the NFL finally getting to a place where they're hiring women to shape their policy, perhaps better things can come out for the NFL. In reading the USA Today, it was actually yesterday, September 16th, I noticed that one of the things that the NFL has been doing for quite some time is that the league had intended anyway to grow their female base because they realized that incorporating more women into into the league would bring them more revenue. In fact, it would take them from 10 billion now to a projected 25 billion by 2027. Now, if that's not moving the bar by bringing our presence in, I don't know what we would call that. In an effort to incorporate more women into the NFL and to become fans of the NFL, in one stadium, they actually incorporated a Victoria's Secret's pink store so that women could go and shop while they were viewing games. Now, some of you are probably chuckling at that, but whatever it takes to get our viewpoint, many corporations are now reaching out to figure out a way to do that. Marie Claire recently had an insert that was given to them by the NFL, and the insert was entitled The Savvy Girl's Guide to Football. So you see, not only in crisis are we being a part of the decision-making process, but many corporations around the world are seeing that our participation is critical to revenue, to drive business, and to drive change. I want to go back a bit because these two models, I want to talk a little bit about why I incorporate these two models into my workshop. And this is not new for some of you who've taken the workshop with me before. The thing about Oprah, and of course Oprah's always a stellar example, and Martha Stewart, is they're two different women, but two women who were in a major seat of power within their own organizations, both of which experienced crises in their life that changed them, but also shows how they used their skill sets as women to overcome the crisis. Now, on the left-hand side, you see Martha Stewart, and before Martha Stewart was sent to jail, you could say that Martha Stewart was the epitome of the male model. She did everything perfect. You never knew if there were people helping her. She was stoic in the way that she went about business, and she was very, very successful. But in the end, that way of being, that male model, that stoic individual, ended up being taken down by her own experience. The experience of running the ladder as opposed to being more open. On the other end, you see Oprah. Now, the thing about Oprah is she is in the audience with people. She's crying with you. She tells you about herself. She's an open book. There's nothing closed about her. So when she went through her crisis with the beef industry, she was able to ride that out and really come out smelling like roses. Oprah is an open book. At that time, Martha Stewart was a closed book. My feeling is that Oprah is the kind of woman that exemplifies leadership, women's leadership, which is very different from the male model. And we'll talk about that in a minute. One thing I do want to say about Martha Stewart post her prison term. She was really this stoic person earlier, and then she went to prison and some part of her began to soften. And what you noticed when she came out of prison and went back to her show, that she began to open up her show, she started to be more vulnerable, she started interviewing other people and their cooking expertise, she laughed a whole lot more, and this made her approachable and also made her brand begin to soar again. One thing I want to make sure that we do before we go here, because this is where I want to open it up to some conversation. Before we dive into more principles, one thing that comes up to me all the time now when people ask about my program and how to participate, they said, how does an alpha woman succeed in a male-oriented environment? What I want to ask you all now is, what's your experience? And I can only take a couple of pieces of feedback, but what's your experience? How does it feel to you? Many of you out there are in the corporate environment, just like me. I know that in my experience of training communication skills over the last 20 plus years, oftentimes I'm training men to utilize the skills that we already possess to be successful in business. So I'd like to see, oh, you guys only saw the first slide. That's sad. So let's talk about that. What is it that you all are experiencing out there? And you can unmute if you want to contribute. Or you can chat. I know, it's so sad. What happened? I see Denise's slide. I see her whole desktop. That is on purpose. Oh, we're having some technical difficulties. Oh. Let's do this. I'm going to try the slides again, you guys. So I'm going to put it in chat. It is technology. Hold on. Can you see this slide? Yes. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. And can you hear me? Okay. All right. I'm going to go back. I think we've solved the problem. Apologize for that. It is technology, by the way. Let's go back. They're nice slides. So, and please continue to chat if there's other technology that comes up, and I'll keep the chat board open. Yes, 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 everybody's yes. Can you put it in presentation mode? Okay, so everyone's now seeing the slide. Okay, all right, so everyone can see the slides. So now, this is what you missed. I'll just go down the slides again. So this is what you missed, the paradigm shift. And then we showed that. Is everybody still with me? And then we showed the facts. You might want to look at that a little bit. Okay. There was a question that came up from Nancy. I'd love to hear about peers' views on authenticities. It's one thing we can very important, that we do not come out the way that it doesn't make colleagues feel uncomfortable. I'll talk about that in a second, Nancy. So if you can hold that thought, I absolutely will get to it. And here's the slide about the NFL. The NFL is just a recent experience, but I'm sure that there are many of you out there who work in the locker room environment and know what it feels like to be included but truly not really included or excluded in the leadership process. There you have Oprah and Martha Stewart. And then I will do my best, Mary Beth. And then here we are with the alpha women. We're just having a little bit of technical difficulty. It happens. This is our first webinar. No excuse, but this is what happened. So let's talk about Nancy's point. Usually the thing that most women feel uncomfortable about is, how do I stand up in my ability to be an alpha woman and not come off in a way that threatens or makes men feel uncomfortable, make the men in the environment feel uncomfortable. One thing you want to know is it's a training ground for them too. And if you don't stand up and become more of who you truly are and truly utilize your skill sets, then what happens is that people do become uncomfortable, and you, most importantly, become uncomfortable. So you have to take a risk. You have to go outside your own comfort zones to understand what your power is and how to start to utilize it in corporate America. So it will feel uncomfortable at first. The savvy way to be in a corporate environment is to be yourself. Let's talk about a couple of communication skills that women use that are natural to them that will help you become more effective in the environment and to use more savvy in the corporate environment. First, let's take a look at general leadership skills. Skills like honesty, courage, wisdom, confidence, commitment, passion, productivity, integrity, sensitivity. These are skills that corporate America believes are important. They're softer skills to make one a leader. Now, I would add in there, from my perspective, that communication is critical, because if you can stand up and present yourself in front of people, that helps to convey confidence. But let's take a look at some of the skills that you already possess as a woman leader. Women tend to be relationship oriented, and the reason why that's the first skill set that I put on the slide is because in my experience of working with lots and lots of guys in the sales environment, and in fact most of the people I train in communication skills are men, lots and lots of them are asking me to give to them the skill sets that will help them become more relationship oriented, because relationship oriented individuals sell more. People buy on emotion and they justify intellectually. Most women tend, and I'm saying 10, I could almost say 100%, but I'm going to say 10, to be more relationship oriented. What does that mean? We tend to relationships first. Everything in our work environment is based on how we relate to others. Take that back to yourselves, whether you're a mother or not a mother. We all tend to take care of others first. It's just a part of who we are. Coach, so what does that mean if we're relationship oriented? It means that we're really good at being coaches. We're very good at coaching the people around us to be better. We're very good at building teams. We're very good at being mentors. Our style is more collaborative, gathering, including. We're more inclusive in the way that we are. That helps us to be better at the table when negotiating, because we don't exclude a viewpoint, Generally speaking, women include a viewpoint. It comes with us naturally. It's our ability to nurture that builds these type of skills. Women are intuitive. Whether we use it or trust it enough, I will say this for certain. We tend to be intuitive. And the funny thing for me is when I'm sitting and I'm doing executive coaching with guys and I hear them talking about their own intuitive abilities, trust your gut, that's an intuitive ability. And if you trust your intuition more as a woman, you'll find that you can navigate the corporate environment almost seamlessly. We think emotionally. Don't exclude that. Don't dummy it down. Emotional means, remember the list we just saw, that we're more sensitive to things. We have sensitivity. We tend to look at the whole as opposed to the parts. And then we try to incorporate the parts into the whole. Emotional thinking is important. Emotional communicating is important. I can't tell you how many times in the communication class, and I actually had it in the last couple of days when I was doing a class, where women will get up and they'll start to cry. And then they feel embarrassed that they cried. Or they try to dummy that down in some ways. Being in touch with your emotion is something that I tend to do with a lot of guys in the communication class. Because for them, emotional thinking and being is perceived as passionate. So all you need to do is to recognize that you think more emotionally and begin to utilize it properly through the communication skills. Women tend to be more community focused, and that's the whole gathering the parts. But one thing I know for absolute certain, being a communication expert for so long, women like to talk. We love to. And it's unfortunate that I'm doing a webinar where you all can't talk back, because we like to talk, and that's how we transform, that's how we change, that's how we develop others. We talk it through. And generally speaking, talking things through is much more powerful than not talking at all. I just want to use a little example, and if you all see this too, please chat it as a chuckle or however you want to come across. Think about a text. I'll get a text from one of my female colleagues, and it's a long, detailed text. I'll send the same question to one of my male colleagues. I get back 3 words. Women like to talk. And if you can learn to communicate effectively, I think that it's easy for us to communicate the needs of the whole in a more competent way to be able to succeed. Now I'm going to take a question from Louise. She says, I think alpha women often cause confusion in the workplace because women aren't expected to be alpha. This is just an observation. I absolutely agree with you, Louise. The thing about being an alpha woman, well, what does that mean? Being an alpha woman in the workplace means that we are coming across powerful. We're coming across more direct. And what people expect us to be is to be a little more laid back and not to come across it. We're supposed to be good girls and we're supposed to be nice girls. Well, the truth of the matter is it's a skill set that we've learned in the male-oriented environment that works for us. It's a good skill set to have. Yes, it does confuse people, but as I said before, it's important for you to continue to use it. I want to come back to this point about alpha women in the male-oriented environment because I'm going to share with you, and Louise, you've seen this model, the male model and the alternative to the male model that I believe works better for women. But let's take a look at some of the women who are in power. Because these skills that I just talked about, I want to show you how they can be incorporated for you to win. Let's take a look at Hillary. Is everybody still with me out there? Can chat back, please. Hillary, when she was the First Lady of the United States, everybody gave her hell for being an alpha woman. She was driving that whole thing about health care. And even though health care is important, and we're still struggling with that here in the United States, the bottom line is that no one wanted to hear her because she was out of her place. Now here's a woman that was as educated as her husband and smart, or maybe smarter. But the environment wasn't ready or was confused about her being in power. Now granted, there were many women first ladies before her that were running the White House, but they were running the White House from behind a curtain. You didn't see them. They weren't out front. Hillary was one of the first ladies to actually step out front. Now I want to follow her evolution through. If following her evolution, one of the things that you remember from recently when she ran for President of the United States, people still perceived Hillary as harsh, hard. You know the word that they call us. And then something happened. Hillary got beat out. She got beat out by Barack Obama, not only for the entire race, but in Iowa as she was starting her trek towards the White House. One thing that happened was that she ended up in New Hampshire when she arrived. She ended up breaking down in tears because her loss was so devastating. Nobody had ever expected Hillary, that monolith of strength, that alpha woman, to actually cry. It changed the perception of her, opened her up, and made people see her more as human. Now let's go back to this slide that I showed you about our skill sets. What happens when we don't use our emotional selves? And there's a whole lot of EQ training going on out there, and you guys know it is. When we don't use our emotional self, we become the B word. That's what happens for us. So let's talk about it. Remember earlier when I introduced this topic in the very beginning of this talk, I talked about how I had this woman come to me and ask me how she could succeed in corporate America. And she was definitely an alpha woman. She had been banging her head up against the wall, walking that male corporate ladder, doing everything she knew to do in a corporation to succeed, and she couldn't. She couldn't because she felt that everything that she was doing was wrong. But she was climbing the ladder. So I took some time with her to take a look at where's the power. What is the power? The power, as we know it, is traditionally the male model. Now, just as a little aside, let's take a look at this ladder. There's not a lot of space on the ladder for anybody else. It's a singular focus going to the top. And some people in the class kind of laughed when I do this and said, yeah, and it's very hard to navigate the corporate ladder in high heels. Chuckle. That's a little chuckle. But let's look at this thing. You have to push other people out of the way in order to make it to the top. So when I was working with this female executive, she was actually a director at that time. She was trying to become a VP. What I said to her was, let's just look at power in general. And power, if you look at it from the side of wind, let's just look at, imagine in your mind that you see that gust of wind in the fall where it moves leaves behind. It just moves leaves to the side. If you take that and you place it upon the ladder model, that's exactly what happens. You have to push people aside to succeed. That doesn't work for women because we're relationship oriented. And what happens, and you can hear this time and time again for women who've made it to the top, they become the bee, the bitch, and they're lonely because they haven't incorporated all the people that help them get there because it's a singular walk. And it works for men because they have wives at home. We don't have the support system around us to help us succeed at the top. And one of the things that I've heard from other women who've read the book Lean In is that, well, she has the nanny and she has all the things to make her successful and to be able to be at the top. That's what it takes. You have to have a strong support system to succeed at the top. You have to have the nannies. You have to have the assistants. You have to have girlfriends. You have to have women business colleagues. And the thing about us is, in corporate America, because we all adhere to the ladder, we tend to push each other down as opposed to support each other. And what you really need is you need a support system. And please, no one take this wrong, but you need a lot of mommies. You need a lot of women supporters to help you succeed in moving to the top. But the male-oriented environment doesn't allow us to feel comfortable doing that. So I want you to step out of your comfort zone and think about a female model. When I was giving this power example to this woman executive, we took a look at a tornado, a spiral, if you will. And a spiral actually is very powerful, even though there's some tornadoes going on right now, so it's probably not the best of models to use, but it's the appropriate one to use. A tornado can pick up a whole street and move it 4 streets away. Now, if you look at the dynamics of a tornado, it gathers within itself to gain power. It brings in as opposed to pushing away. Now take a look at this slide. Can everybody see the slide, a new model for our success, with the corporate ladder on the left and the spiral on the right? Can everybody see that? Okay, we're going to get it on there. Hold on. Can you see that now? Can everybody see it? Louise, can you see it? Okay. All right. Good, good, good. Okay, here we go. I don't know, Sai, why you're not seeing it. Yeah, good. All right, here we go. So you can see on the left-hand side that this is the ladder going to the top. There's no space for anybody else on the ladder. I love this slide on the right, the spiral, because on a spiral, there's room for others to walk up. And in fact, you can take others with you who will support you. Now, when I first started utilizing this new concept of the spiral, we call it spiral leadership. It's a model that I came up with, and I came up with it from this theory that I came around with the power of the tornado and how it gathers in. Women are gatherers. We gather. We're community-oriented and we're relationship-oriented. So the spiral works better for us. That's what really works the best, because it's inclusive. I want to give you an example of a woman executive that I had the privilege of meeting and working with briefly. Geraldine Laybourne used to be the CEO of Oxygen TV. And I went to meet with Geraldine because I wanted to know what made her so successful. And I was lucky to have an entree to her. And she had been at Disney, and she had been at several major networks before she took on Oxygen TV, and she took in Oprah as a partner, a 49% partner in this. And what happened with her is I said to her, I've come up with this model that I think that a spiral is much more inclusive. It's a better way. What's made you successful? And this is what she told me. She told me that I sit in the center of my organization as the CEO and president. And I brought in all my direct reports one day and I said to them, I'm going to be the CEO, but I want to encourage you all to grow because you've worked to help to build this company. So I tell you what, if you figure out a way to come out of your silos, which is a male model, work collaboratively, and figure out ways to enhance business for this organization, as a team, I promise, and this takes courage, to develop each one of you in what I call a president's training. You won't be able to take my space, but I want to develop you to become president somewhere else. Now that takes guts. But what do you think happened? The ratings went up. Her folks started working cross silos, cross departments, and came up with new and fresh ideas, male and female. Came up with new ideas to enhance the network. And as a result of that, the network got better. Now, the good news and the bad news is, the bad news being, many of those people took the president's training and moved on to other corporations. Did that shake Geraldine? No, it didn't. Because those people moved on to major corporations like Procter & Gamble, Merrill Lynch, big hitters on Madison Avenue, which, by the way, these presidents, because this is what they became when they went to the other companies, were major donors and investors in her network. See, the spiral is not afraid to take other people to the top, and it's not afraid to help other people, quite frankly, succeed. Because you, as the woman, sit in the middle, nurturing those around you, incorporating a larger vision in the whole will bring success. Now, I'm probably having some of you sitting out there and saying, yeah, Denise, whatever. Maybe you're saying that. So I went ahead and did a little more research around the spiral. And what I found was, when I went to the dictionary and looked up spirals, a spiral, depending upon how many spirals are within the large spiral, will depend upon how strong the spiral is itself. Now, why do you care, Denise? Why are you telling me this? Well, the point is that in order for you to be strong within your spiral, ladies, what you have to do is sit in the middle, but you also have to encourage other women and people that you are managing to become stronger within their own spirals too. And then your organization becomes more whole. It becomes stronger. Now I'm going to take one other question I see here. How do you identify organizations that train and encourage their employees to grow without fear of losing those same employees? You have to, it is unique. It is unique to find organizations, but they're there more than ever now. I'm going to show you a picture really quickly of a couple of women that are now in power, and these are organizations that are incorporating some of the things that I'm talking about. One of the companies that I talked about in the very beginning of this conversation with you was Deloitte & Touche. And Deloitte decided that they were going to incorporate a women's development program. It became a part of their executive development program. They trained not only women to become executive, but they trained the men around them on how to promote women within their organization, because they realized that it was women that were really, really their customer now and their customer more in the future. And that's why I use the example of the NFL. The NFL is a little behind the 8 ball on this, but we can see some inklings of what's trying to happen there. Out of crisis, but it is happening. Here's a couple of women that are in power now. You have Ursula. I've been watching Ursula for at least 15 years. She's at Xerox, which is a technical organization, and generally speaking, women in technical organizations, we are limited. But take a look. You have Marissa. who is the CEO of Yahoo. The thing about Marissa, she got a lot of flack for coming back to work quickly. But what she did do is she brought in her nannies and all the things that she needed in order to be with her children or her child while she was in her executive status. So one of the things in the spiral that works for women is you have those tiny spirals within your spiral have to be women who support you. Getting your significant other, the men in your life or your significant other to support you. You need the support. Sheryl Sandberg gave a lot of examples of what she was doing. Here is Mary, the CEO of GM. I feel for her. She's gone through a lot. And I would hope and suggest that she would incorporate more women in the environment to support her. The automotive industry is one of the strongest male bastions that there is. You can see now that we have a woman that's the head of the Federal Reserve, Rosalind. There's a lot more that I could just only do a few, but there are a lot more women in CEO positions. And as a result of that, you're going to start seeing change. So what you might want to do, Lauren, is Google companies that are supportive of more women or supportive of women's growth, because they're out there more now than ever. Are there any other questions chats you want to give me? Well, what if they intentionally don't want to agree with you? Well, there's a couple of things you can do. One, you've got to build a support system around you of other women. Now, I'm just going to say this is something that we do in the workshop, and it's something that we have an exercise around. But I want you to consider that what we have been raised to believe as women is that we have to take care of the organization from a male perspective. So that means that we take care of the male and that we support the male. And any woman that comes in, we are suspect of her. That means that we can't trust the women that are around us. I call it the Barbie and Ken syndrome. That Meg, Barbie's best friend, was trying to support Barbie, but Barbie didn't want anybody to get Ken. You see that play out every day in corporate America when it comes to working with men in the corporate environment. And there's a whole host of other things that we can talk about, but I just want to talk about how you have to change your mindset first. And the way that you change your mindset is recognize what your skill sets are and start to utilize those skill sets. I'm not saying you can't be driven. You can still be driven. The beauty of Title IX, when women were able to compete in sports in a more professional way, is that women had a way of being competitive in a male-oriented environment and still succeeding. Have things changed since then? A lot. Do they need to continue to change? Well, just read the paper today and you'll see that there's still a lot of need for change. But the first thing is to recognize your powers. What are your powers? What are your strengths? And start to utilize them. And then the second step, I would say, is start surrounding yourself with a support system of women. Mentor one another, but also find some of the guys in your organization who are more open to helping women succeed. I was fortunate. I own my own company, as most of you know, but I was fortunate to have one great, strong male leader who worked for a major corporation in the United States, and wherever he went, I went. And he was a strong supporter, and he introduced me to a lot of these CEO women that we're talking about today, because he wanted me to succeed. He could see what I brought to the table, but I was always authentically myself. One of the other skill sets that I didn't put on that list is don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Take down the stone walls. Be vulnerable. Be willing to fail. Be willing to have a little bit of egg in your face, but most importantly, don't be afraid of the softer skills. I train men how to be softer in their skill sets all the time. I want to show you a couple of slides that we can finish up on here. And I'm sorry for some of the technical difficulties that we have. This is a picture of Michelle Obama. And the reason why I'm using her, can everybody see her? Somebody can just let me know. Okay, great. The reason why I'm using this picture of Michelle Obama is because I feel that she's one of the women that shows how to be in power and still maintain that feminine self. She obviously is a strong contender and is as smart, again, and as trained and as brilliant as her husband. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of his decisions she has something to say. But when we watched her come into the White House, she brought with her one of the most important things she brought with her was a support system. Her mother to watch her children. She brought different aides that she had used before when she was in law. She brought them to support her system. You have to have a strong support system of women. Get out of the Barbie and Ken. Start trusting each other a lot more and giving to each other a lot more. You need the support surrounding you at the top. Become a spiral and then put other spirals around you to keep your organization moving upward and expanding, not limited by a spiral. I want to share with you some closing thoughts around this. And this quote I found today when I was looking for things to help with this webinar. Can everybody see it? So anytime that we come together, today, even with our technical glitches, we're here in strength. Just to see the chats that are going on from other women who are in the corporate environment, just to hear the things that I'm sharing with you from what I see in the corporate environment, starts to set the foundation for how we can succeed. Because the truth of the matter is, we need to come together in a strong collective. The women who are coming into business today, these younger women, they understand the power of coming together as women. And we who've been in the business for a long time, we have to forge the road, even though we have a couple of bruises and bumps, to continue mentoring and coaching other women on being successful and knowing that from the spot that you sit in already as a woman, with the skills that I've been training other men to use, you can use those skills to become a powerhouse. The world is looking for it. The world needs it. In closing, I'm really, really, really excited about this program and what I've been doing for women in the last 15 years. For those of you who are sitting with me and who've gone through the program, you know that it's transformational. I've had women go from directors and to CFOs through the support of other women who have taken this course. So I highly recommend to take the course, the summit. It's a summit that's done in residency to take you out of the corporate environment so that you can look at your skill sets, experience your skill sets, experience other women and what their trials and their successes have been. I did a partnership with the Four Seasons Hotel because part of me believes that we need to splurge on ourselves. And through the Go Gal program at the Four Seasons Hotel that's only here in this area, they have taken their price down so that you can stay there, go to their spa, because I think spas are important for us, especially for putting a Band-Aid on bruises that we've gotten in corporate America, And it will give us time to be away from that environment so that we go back to our jobs energized and transformed. I absolutely guarantee a transformational experience. So I want you to encourage you to come and spend that time with me on December 8th and 9th if you can do it. You don't have to stay at the Four Seasons. You can stay elsewhere, but just come and take part in the summit. You're welcome to visit my website and to get more information there. And in closing, we have the ability to change the world. We are doing it every single day. So what I want to say to you all, hi, I'm back again, is to remember the spiral. Set people around you. Start to mentor, to bond, and communicate with other women. Utilize our strengths and our weaknesses to create those strong spirals that will make a difference in corporate America. Because whether we believe it or not, or someone else believes we can do it or not, the world is calling for us. Whether it's created by a crisis, or whether it's created because you have a company like Deloitte that says we can't advance in business without women's perspectives. So just know that you're valued, value yourself, and go out there and lead as a woman with impact. Thanks so much. I hope to see you soon. We plan to do another webinar, and I think we'll use a little bit different venue the next time, in November as another lead into our Women with Leading with Impact program. Thanks so much. We had a full house. I'm so excited, and I look forward to seeing you all really soon. Thanks so much for supporting me and being a part of my spiral. Bye.